Good evening and welcome to the Minions of the Zoo. I'm your host and keeper tonight, the Harry Channel. And with me tonight are minions DrFunctional.
Groovy.
Serenity Star 13.
Hello.
And SkepTock.
Hi, everybody.
You know, I've actually reached the point where I was thinking, we really might want to mix up the opening at some point. And I spent, maybe about 2 or 3 hours going through collections of music and looking at just how much I could get away with the Content ID system on YouTube with. And I still haven't found anything I like better in terms of kind of setting the mood than that.
Have you found anything in the public domain that
I've checked in the public
you could use
domain?
freely? Yeah.
Well, I feel like William F. Buckley started out with, I think it was a Brandenburg concerto.
Third
And
Brandenburg concerto.
It's kind of already been done.
Okay.
So, in terms of public domain stuff, yeah, I've gone through a bunch of stuff. We could do a lot. There's a whole ton of 80s style synthwave. That would be a rebranding, wouldn't it?
Yeah. Definitely.
Get some fluorescent palm trees, and we could have a good old time. Anyway, how was your day, Skep?
Don Hose in the public domain. It's been a good day. I had a frustrating project, an outdoor project that required actual man skills, and I was successful in getting fixing an outdoor hydrant, a faucet, people think of them, on my house to work. And once again, the garden is receiving life-giving waters. It was 102 degrees here today. That's about 39 degrees Celsius. And it's just hotter than shit.
Yeah, and it's not even a dry heat.
No, it's not a dry heat. It's about 40% humidity.
Yeah,
it's like breathing soup.
I wish the humidity was that low here. God.
I know you've got it worse, Serenity.
I was out.
Dance outside. Going,
I was out bicycling in Davis, California, about 20-something years ago, and it was 100, probably around 110. And I was
Davis.
I was Davis, and it is a dry heat, and I'm just riding along, and I look up and I see this little tiny rain cloud, just 110 degree day. He's all by himself, just this little twee little rain cloud, and he was just, and I'm like pedaling toward it, just kind of going, okay, please, just shade, some rain, anything, just you could just be my personal savior. So I'm pedaling toward this thing, and then I look up and it's trying to rain, but it's just doing Virga. So there's like rain coming down over the top of my head, but it's all evaporating before any of it hits me. Right. It's like,
but you called that a twee rain cloud?
It was very small. It was.
Did it live in a little tumbly down house?
It could have had little anime googly eyes or whatever. No, but there's no reason for this thing to exist. There was no weather. It was just there.
Yeah.
It's like the kind of thing that if you were in the desert and it came over, you'd think it was a sign from God that you weren't forsaken, and then it would give you life-giving water.
It's
juvenile. Then you'd go fight the French or whatever.
It's juvenile delinquent water vapor. They're supposed to be someplace else, but they're skipping school and they're hey, let's go out.
Truants, they shall say.
But I don't know. I kind of like doing things that I'm bad at, and I don't do well in the heat. So 110 degree on a bicycle is just another thing for me to suck at that I feel good about trying to do. I mean, pretty much any day on a bicycle is a good day for the most part. Absolutely. It's like fishing, right? I mean, how bad a day can you have fishing? Oh, no, we didn't catch anything. Ooh.
Yeah. You can't be too drunk to fish. There's no such thing.
There's no such thing. Anyway, enough about me and my stupid hobbies. How's it going, Serenity?
Good.
You holding up okay?
We're in the it's not monsoon season here. I'm not going to call it monsoon season. It's thunderstorms. Jesus Christ, please don't let there be a tornado season. So we go like 3 or 4 days of 90+ degree weather, 85% plus humidity, then a massive thunderstorm that comes through that doesn't take any of the humidity away, which pisses me off. That shakes the trees, lightning, thunder, clouds start to go a little weird color where you're like, please don't turn another color, please don't turn another color, please don't turn another color. Because I don't have a basement to run into.
Can you send some of that shit up here, just a little bit north of you. That's all I ask.
Dude, the
They've been
Appalachians
calling for it, but it just hasn't gone north at all.
The Appalachians keep fighting it. They're like, nope, it's staying down here. Fuck you. Fuck you and your mother. No, we're not doing it. And it just goes down a little bit down south, and it hits the broadside of where Prospero lives, and then it just continues out to the ocean at that point.
Yeah. All right. Well, I'm glad things are okay with you. Hey, Functional, how you doing?
Oh boy, it's hot.
How's the cat? How's the cat? The cat doing okay?
The kitten is great. It's crazy. It's lovely. It's a 10-week-old kitten now, and it's great. She's getting used to the things, you know, as all baby creatures do. They love exploring anything and everything. So the heat's been something new to her, and she's been liking to play with the air that comes out of the air conditioner. Like she'll sit there and kind of like stare at it for a minute, and then swat at it fervently, like it's attacking her, and then she'll just sit there and look at it like, well, that was kind of not fun, and walk away. We had a supposed scheduled power outage last night from the schedule was 11 p.m. to 9 a.m. today. That never took place because 3-4 months ago, a transformer just around the corner exploded, and they needed to, do. We've been on basically backup Jennies for the last 4 months, so they needed to replace that. I'm like, dude, did you have to wait until the middle of a freaking heat wave to do this?
Yes.
They couldn't have done this 2 weeks ago. Yeah, well, of course, they're union.
Yep.
But it never came. There was never any power interruption. So, 2 hours roll by. Owen and I are just, we're lying in bed, watching YouTube and Netflix on our phones and whatnot. And we look at each other. We go, fuck this. And we get it. It's too early to sleep. It's only 12 o'clock or 1 o'clock in the morning. Screw this. We turn all the lights, and I get back on my computer, and she's doing her thing on her laptop, and we're just like going on and on. And then eventually, I wake up in the morning, I look over at my alarm clock, I'm like, it hasn't reset. Nothing turned off. What the hell's going on? You bastards.
Yeah, liars. Yeah, I got one of those notices from the power company saying, oh, we're going to replace a power pole in your area, and they rescheduled it 3 times at the last minute.
Shocking.
Yeah.
Not.
I had some really, really big concerns because my neighborhood right beside us on either side are old folks' homes. Big, apartment building complexes, about like 12 stories high. So there's a lot of what I would call vulnerable people. We know when unplanned power outages happen, there's quite a few incidences of people not living through it, and it's not good. So I was, trying to not complain, but figure out why does it have to be right this second? And they told me what I told you, and it's again, it doesn't make sense to have to do this stuff in the middle of heat waves, no matter where you are, California, Toronto. Can you not do this in spring or fall or sometime where it's not going to be as impactful on the most vulnerable people? Like me myself, I couldn't, if I needed to leave the building for any reason, I wouldn't be able to. I'd be afraid to take the stairs. I'd fall down 7 flights of stairs or whatever, because the elevators were turned off. And,
yeah. Well, speaking of while I have your attention. Let's see.
How are you, Harry?
I have that right.
Yeah, Harry, how are you?
Harry, inquiring minds want to know.
I spent much of the first part of the week getting ready for sort of a meeting / demo with a bigwig. Not
Is that
sleeping.
a memo?
I got all of 20 minutes worth of sleep on Wednesday night.
Ugh.
Getting ready for this thing. And the meeting went really, really well the next morning. And then I went to sleep for 13 hours, walked around like a zombie all day on Friday, and still not quite 100%. So sorry I'm not bringing my A game. This is really more like my B- game. But we're going to muddle through. We're going to show fortitude. And I'm going to torture Functional now with this.
Yay!
Yes!
You see your friend there?
Okay. Which
And crushed pineapple is all you need to make this cake. This cake really seems too good to be true, but I can kind of picture the flavor.
2-ingredient angel food cake, cake mix, and a can of crushed pineapple.
Is it
Pineapple
made
and
from
angel
real
food
angels?
cake. It literally comes together in seconds, and then I
tears,
don't have a
maybe.
tube pan, which the recipe calls for, so I'm just using a 9x13. You want to pour the batter in ungreased.
Okay, again, a box of cake mix is not a single ingredient. I don't
It's not
care
a
what you
recipe.
say. It's not even a recipe. This is like, man, this is totally phoning it in. We're well into Richard Dean Anderson, Stargate SG-1 Season 5 levels of effort.
Is it really any reason why people in the West are getting really unhealthy with their eating habits when they follow stupid shit like this? Take the extra 10 minutes to make an actual cake batter.
I'm still kind of against the idea of self-rising flour. Are you really that lazy that you don't have a spoon to measure baking powder
Yeah.
and a pinch of salt? You really this
Not
is
to
the
mention
labor-saving
all the-
device.
All the nasty chemicals they put into it to preserve that stuff.
Nah,
You don't need to put in
that's
your
actually
body.
not so bad. That's not so bad. They don't really add that much stuff to it. It literally is just regular flour plus 2 ingredients
no,
you should already have. Oh, you mean this stuff?
I mean, the cake mix. Yeah.
Oh God,
Or
yes.
the
No,
crushed
it's
pineapple.
it's-
Like, for the same price and a little bit of elbow grease and maybe 15 minutes more, you can make that fresh. Get a pineapple, cut it up, make your own cake dough, mix it all together, boom, bake it. You're done. You know what? It's still cake, so it's not like healthy, but it's healthier than eating canned pineapple and basically cake mix.
I make
Why
a
even
really
bake it at
good-
that point? Why not just mix it all together and spoon it into your fat face?
Well,
Yeah.
canned pineapple in water is not too bad. That has not had the vitamins processed out of it.
Yeah,
And
yeah.
The canned pineapple and syrup, that's a different story. You get a lot of disaccharide calories you don't need.
Oh yeah, you don't
Yeah.
need those.
So enough of that. That was just a little bonbon before we start
That's to
out.
light the fire under my ass.
What about Chris Evans? Is he just like the most alpha beta male out there, or what the hell is?
He's most likely getting, because his uncle's a politician. He's a Democrat politician out of Massachusetts.
Oh yes.
He's most likely
Mhm.
playing the game to try to become a politician later in life. That's what he's doing, and he thinks this is the way.
Probably.
His uncle lost his fucking seat though, but this is what it is. That's what this is. I think legitimately, I think he does this kind of shit just because his uncle's been grooming him to be the next Kennedy. I honestly believe that.
Well, there's a bunch of controversy. Well, I mean, it's not really even controversy. It's minimal controversy about this new Buzz Lightyear thing from Pixar that, as far as I can tell, nobody cares. I mean, I know I don't. But they put some sort of
shouldn't.
gay kiss, 2 men kissing 2 toys of male
No.
persuasion kissing, isn't it?
No. This is the real person universe of Buzz Lightyear. So this is a real person done in CGI.
Okay. Still struggling to care.
I know.
But people do care about this, and it's one of those little Twitter dust up things. So
Had a couple
Chris
good
Evans
ones
came off
there.
and said, we're talking about people who are basically the haters, talking about the LGBTQIAP part of the movie, saying, these people are, just ignore them. These people are all going to die off like dinosaurs. The optics of it are not great, because again, it's another actor just sort of saying, I take the social responsibility of my acting very, very seriously. And there's whole groups of people who are potential consumers that I want to insult. That's
Well,
the
I
part
mean,
I sort
I
of don't
don't-
get.
It's the way
Once
he's
again,
born.
Well, hold on, let Serenity go, and then you functional.
No. It's like that's the way he's always been. Like he wasn't this bad until after, not Civil War. God damn it.
Winter Soldier.
Yeah, after Winter Soldier, and Winter Soldier did really well.
Mhm.
He started to show this side of himself.
Mhm.
Because before of that, he was very not so much pro-America, but he didn't mouth off as much. But the minute
He kept his head down and he did his job.
yeah, and then he started to kind of show that he's And it's a thing I never understood because there were grown-ass adults that for some goddamn reason were like, well, you don't deserve to be Captain America. It's like, it's a character, guys. He's not going to embody fucking Cap. As long as he does it on screen, reads his lines, who gives a shit what he thinks in real life?
Yeah.
But his stance on guns, his stance on a lot of other things, he was one of the people that after Valdi
Look at all the
thing
people.
was bitching about guns and didn't even give it like 24 hours for anybody to mourn. And it's kind of like, shut up, dude.
Well,
Not about
that's
you,
the
dude.
thing. He's so on script. I don't think he's intelligent enough in at least those fields, because I think he's a great actor. And and just to quickly, separate the art from the artist, and you'll be fine as a human being. I can look at his political messages and go, I don't fucking care. You're an idiot. Go do something on screen for me to enjoy, and I'll be done.
Uh-oh.
His power may
Cana-
have gone out now.
Canadian
Yeah, he's
internet.
gone.
Well, I think, let's see. There he is. Welcome
Okay.
back.
I accidentally hit the F5 key when I
Ah,
What does
talk
F5
with my hands.
do?
I grew up with a lot of Italians, so I talk with my hands a lot.
What's
Oh my
F5
So sometimes
do?
I hit the F5 key.
What
reload
does
the page.
F5 do?
it reloads.
In Windows, it
Don't
reloads
talk to
your
me
page.
like that. I don't use Windows. I don't know what
That's what I
F5
said in
does.
Windows.
Not only do I not use F5, but my keyboard doesn't even have an F5. But go on.
Actually, it was the power of Disney that yeeted me off
F5
the
in
screen.
Windows. F5 in Windows, by the way.
Anyway,
It doesn't just reload. It actually refreshes. It repeats the last action that was done in the window called main. That is in the foreground. That's actually what that does internally in Windows.
refresh.
F5
Okay.
has always done that. Anyway, enough.
Anyway.
Go ahead.
So I think he's so on script that he's a literal puppet. He,
Yeah.
like you said, he got that notoriety. He had a huge platform, and now they want to sink their claws into him and go, if you want to keep making millions upon millions with us here at Disney, you need to start coming out. You need to start saying some of these things. They do a great job of exemplifying what that kind of stuff is in the TV show The Boys, where instead of fake superheroes, they're actual superheroes who are towing certain political lines, and they don't really care. They don't care. They don't know. Do you think Chris Evans knows anything what it's like to live on the south side of Chicago, or have to live in the backwoods of West Virginia with a bear on his porch in the middle of the night? No, I don't think he knows or cares about anything that actually is pertinent to these issues. He just reads a script. He does it like so many Holly weirdos do, and that's the end of it. And it's really funny and telling that the only ones who don't see, the most of them that don't seem like they're reading off script, tend to be more in our camp.
Well, Chris Pratt refuses to toe the line, and he proves you can still get the fucking job and not toe the line, which makes it funny when you see other actors toe the line. That's the reason why I think his isn't so much the Disney thing. I think it's pressure from his uncle, because I think his uncle
probably both. I mean, they're all intertwined at this point.
Oh yeah,
right.
But
And-
his uncle is a very hardcore Massachusetts Democrat.
And
Like-
it's good that you brought up Pratt, because and he's a pop culture kind of guy. But look at the other sort of end of the spectrum in someone like James Woods, who's overtly outwardly spoken, not really a working actor very much anymore, but still
here's
willing
these
to hold the people to the fire and say, well, here's the facts, prove me wrong. That's great. And these people who normally I would say, just shut up and act, it's fine, because they're not like outwardly lying or pretending, just continuing to pretend, bringing their day job into the real life political sphere, because that's all Chris Evans does. Is my perspective is that he's just acting.
Yeah.
Well, I
If
think
there
acting.
were actual zombies, I think Mila Jovovich would be one of the least useful people to have around.
Oh God, yeah. It's like just throw her, and they'd be like, "This is a stick. Why would I eat this? Get away from me!"
Well, maybe I'd like to, if it's okay, I want to show you guys something, because to me and Skep, except for guys like John Wayne, most of the time actors would sort of stay in their lane, because that was the way things sort of work. So I have I have a little sample, a little blast from the past here that you might find kind of interesting. This is actually relatively short. This is from the Dick Cavett show back in like the 1980s.
Can we get it bigger? Like embiggen yourself.
Oh yeah.
Bigger.
What am I doing? Sorry
That's
about
why
that.
I'm here.
Okay, so here's Lee Marvin from The Dirty Dozen and a billion other things.
Sorry.
Let's hear what Lee Marvin has to say.
Yeah. Do you ever have any? Last time you were here, you'd just been in a. I can't remember if you'd just been or were just about to be in The Dirty Dozen, and a lot of people thought that was a movie that glorified violence, so that it shouldn't have been shown. Does that criticism irritate you ever?
No, I don't really consider that part of the film much of the film. I thought the whole film was basically the 12 guys and their training and the examination of them. Once we got into the actual effort of making the jump into the palace or whatever it was,
Yeah.
I mean that's just following out the footwork. I think of why they were trained, why you could enjoy the front part of the film.
Yeah, you might think that somebody like Lee Marvin is just sort of a dumb piece of muscle, but he's being very, very professional, and he's taking his craft very, very seriously. But let's listen to a little bit more.
You didn't think that the film was a bad influence on the people who who get their kicks from seeing. Well, I'm mixing up two questions here. Do you think a movie can be a bad influence because it has people
sure.
cheering, say, the gassing of Germans or the murdering of?
I'm sure it can be both ways. It can be a good influence, a bad influence, or an indifferent influence.
Yeah.
But that's not my job, or it wasn't my job at that time to ascertain whether this would be a great influence on not pouring gasoline on German generals. I wasn't really concerned about that. I was concerned about working with Jimmy Brown or Johnny Cassavetes or the rest of that marvelous group of actors.
Did you ever get?
I miss this.
I wanted to say I miss both the professionalism that Marvin is showing here and his I mean he speaks very eloquently when he's on shows like this as opposed to the character tropes that he falls into and still plays very well. But also Dick Cavett. This is a late night show host, people, from years past. Compare that to the garbage that we get today. Oh my god.
Jimmy Kimmel.
Yeah, right? Compare Cavett to Kimmel? No.
Seth Meyers.
freaking way.
Yeah.
And Cavett is still, pretty left-wing, pretty liberal. He's still a Hollywood-type person. But even back then, they weren't anything like they are now. They would people today, these crazy leftists, would look at Cavett today and go, this guy's a right-winger. Cenk would be losing his head at this guy. Any more?
Well, we could just watch the whole episode, honestly.
Yeah.
But,
Let's get copies right.
No, I just didn't know if you had any more.
No. I just
stuff there.
wanted to compare and contrast. This is partially why us dinosaurs have so much trouble with somebody like Chris Evans. Why are you talking? It's like I don't
Dinosaurs actually boned and had babies. Who's gonna
could-
die out?
Well, I can almost deal with a guy like Sean Penn because at least he's sort of, as an individual, not so much as an actor, as an individual, goes out and tries to do something. He doesn't always succeed. He may build houses for people that fall down or whatever, but he gets in his damn boat and he goes out and tries to get people off of rooftops. So I admire the fact that it's not just a bunch of empty virtue signaling. But I really kind of like my actors more like Lee Marvin. Just focusing on being a professional, focusing on the craft, taking it seriously, and not feeling like it's his job to reshape society with his role in his movie and all this other sort of stuff. I'm just a lot more comfortable with this than I am this incessant virtue signaling from guys like Chris Evans. And honestly, my personal opinion, before we move on about Chris Evans, is he's simply not very smart and he's surrounded by woke actors.
Yeah.
And
Can I
it's
make
mostly
one quick
just
comment?
peer pressure. Go ahead.
Yeah, I was going to make one quick comment. Compare the self-consciousness, the lack of self-consciousness of Lee Marvin with the overweening, preening, treacly self-involvement of the creatures that call themselves actors these days. It just there's no comparison. Enough said.
Chris Evans. Lee Marvin. Okay. Anyway, so Meathead had an opinion about something. Rob Reiner, and this is the
God.
only thing that I'm going to talk about as far as the Roe decision, is just this one sort of reaction, because it ties into what we were just talking about. Rob Reiner, the GOP got what it wanted. Now we get what we want: a Democratic House, a filibuster-proof majority in the Senate, and women's right to choose the law of the land. Vote. Well, yeah, you absolutely should vote, but I'm not sure his electoral calculus is particularly accurate. What do you think, Skep?
I think that, you know, his sentiment is correct, but I think the correctness is unintentional. I think he has a loopy, almost hysterically fueled optimism that's completely outside the bounds of reality. And, you know, he thinks he can go out there and lead with his chin. Well, he's going to lead right into a left hook when the midterms come.
Well, in terms of electoral politics, this decision that came down is certainly going to annoy people who already were going to vote Democrat.
Yeah.
So I don't see there being a net change. The only real question is of the people in the soft middle, how many of them that were thinking, you know, the economy's kind of screwed up, this country's going in very much the wrong direction, this one issue is enough to make me change my mind and stick with the Democrats. Yeah. Now, I'm sure there are people like that. There are going to be people like that, but I don't see this fundamentally changing what's going to happen in November.
Well, I mean, it's stuff that's been brought up online. Like, it's been this is like DACA all over again, just a longer time period of like, you've had how many decades to ratify this into law or certify it into law, and you didn't. This is as much on you.
They just kept passing the buck.
Yeah, this is
because Obama thought, okay, well,
yeah,
don't have to do it now. Hillary will do it, and then whoa, what happened? Yeah,
and that's the thing. Like, they're like, well, it's the justices. No. They've had very long time to do it, to make this into an actual fucking law. They all went, oh no, we don't actually have to put ourselves on the line because we don't have to take the chance that there are a lot of Democrats who are pro-life. Maybe not as much as conservatives, but they are out there. So it's one of those things where it's kind of like they just were so terrified of pissing their base off that they just kept passing it down the line. So it's like, it's been my argument whenever anybody says, well, it's the conservatives' fault. No, it's the Democrats' fault because they didn't do anything.
Yeah.
They were warned. Ruth Bader Ginsburg warned them for years.
And Lawrence Tribe too did. But I don't want to get too far into the decision. Mostly just the effect of the decision, because everybody and his mother has had an opinion about this thing that's come down. And I'm not sure what we can really add to it. It's just the electoral politics part of it that I find interesting. It's the reaction to the decision, which I don't think people have talked enough about. And going straight to meathead is always a good thing.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, because Rob Reiner
definitely is kind of a dinosaur. You know, walnut brain, giant body. You know, as a Canadian, I look at your system, and there are parts that I really like. I really like states' rights. I really like that you have a constitution that outlines the fundamentals of the nation, and that's, you know, both in popular and in my personal opinion, where it should end on that federal level, and then the states can dictate or pass laws and protect the people on a more direct level. And I appreciate that. This is coming from someone who doesn't really give a shit about abortion. Like, I don't care. Like, sure, have them. I don't care. Whatever. But the law has to be consistent, or you don't have jurisprudence. You have opinions codified in law. So you need to have that consistency of, well, okay, like you said, they didn't try to ratify it to be a federal law. So you snooze, you lose. Even if you tried, I don't think you probably could have gotten it. But yeah, like let the states decide. Like, I don't understand the big deal.
Yeah.
I really wish we had more provincial rights to be.
Oh yeah, it's actually, in a lot of ways, it's much better to have democracy be as local as possible in most cases.
Yep.
So, I want to do a fun little experiment and see if anybody else sees something funny in this picture. Okay, Biden to appoint first Native American to serve as treasurer. Functional, do you know why I think this is funny?
That's a man, baby.
Nope, that's not it. Serenity, do
No?
you know why I think this is funny?
No, but she doesn't look right.
First Native American to serve as treasurer. No?
Yeah, she's not 100%. I know that, but
Okay. Skep,
Oh.
do you know why I think this is funny?
Let me see. This is actually the first time I've looked at this. Okay,
I know.
Biden to appoint first Native American to serve as treasurer. Well,
Mhm.
other than the fact that, as Native American treasurer, she'd be absolutely right to say, I'm taking all the money and giving it back to my people you took the land from. She could certainly do that. Other
Okay.
than that, I can't think of anything.
Okay, the first thing that popped into my head, because I'm a sick individual under the covers, is I looked at the necklace, saw Native American treasure, and started laughing inside my head.
Oh, wampum beads.
Oh, God, Harry.
Okay.
Jesus.
God, Harry.
What is that?
wow.
Very good.
What-
Is that what they paid
Good
her
help.
in? Is that what you're...
Basically, the early settlers bought the island of Manhattan from the natives who were there in exchange for some
For a bunch of
necklaces and
trinkets.
trinkets. And so I was just laughing because I was just thinking, well, what's the joke here? Do I want to get kicked off Twitter? I could say, I wonder if that was what if they paid her with that necklace. I started thinking,
yeah,
how
I get
canceled can I get?
I'm tapping my large Jewish nose. Don't worry.
I'm sure she's a very, very nice person and extremely qualified.
That was
but-
differential to Elvin's
But
comments.
my sense of humor is extremely far-reaching, and I immediately saw the necklace and read the thing and started going.
I just hope to God she doesn't read Krugman. She
Well,
probably is. She's probably one of those little acolytes.
Compared to most of the people that are there already, she almost certainly. I don't know how she can be any worse. But then again, I thought Jean-Pierre, whatever Little Miss spokesperson, was going to be better than Peppermint Patty, and man, she did not deliver.
Makes you yearn for Peppermint Patty, who at least knew what the positions were without reading it out of the book. But that's not a sub. That we're not talking about that.
Yeah, well, it's just that the new spokesperson seems like an empty vessel.
Yep.
She was apparently appointed as the chief for her tribe, a tribe of Native Americans I've never even fucking heard of.
Mm-hmm.
They're from Connecticut, I think, is what it is. Yeah, the area's only 507 acres. Like, their reservation is nothing. And she was their chief and their treasurer.
Well, because I actually like this country, I hope she's awesome.
Yes,
I'm not
agreed.
one of these. I'm not one of these people that wants anybody in the Biden administration to fail for the purpose of politics. We have enough problems. I hope she's fantastic, and I just feel a little bit guilty for the evil part of my brain. All right, moving on. So this is a thing, as you well know. As Russia cuts gas, German industry grapples with
Warned.
painful choices.
They were warned.
Things are so bad there that they're actually thinking about firing up the coal power plants again.
Oh yeah, I've heard rumors that.
Because it would take too long to restart the nuclear reactors.
Yeah, that's what happens when you turn the nukes off.
Mm-hmm.
Dumbasses.
Well, didn't they even start disassembling parts of the plant, so they'd have to rebuild.
Oh yeah.
Put
It take-
together back to get, like, it would take a year for them to get anything even started.
And I think the
coal
EU
plants they could just turn on.
intentionally has made the nuclear power plant, some of the code stuff that they have to abide by, even harder. Which is the reason why I
Wouldn't
think
doubt
France had to go with Gen 4 and couldn't use older ones. But Gen 4 makes sense.
So I think you guys probably were aware of this back in 2018. Do you remember what people were saying? Oh, it's xenophobic, it's jingoistic, it's saber rattling. Trump just wants his rich friends to sell stuff to Germany instead.
Well, it was like the video that went around of the German representative's response to Trump. It's like, yeah, I feel like a dumb fuck now. Because that was going around the internet not too long ago. It's like, way to go, dumb. Hey, but maybe depending on how Germany plays it, maybe they won't be the ones who have a hand in World War III, unlike the last two. But we'll see.
Completely self-aware.
I'm reminded of a slogan
Mhm.
from Game of Thrones, which book I'm reading now. I've made it almost through the first volume.
Oh, okay, first one. Okay.
And they keep talking about winter is coming. Let me tell you something about Germany. Germany's southern border, and I actually have a map if you wanted to share that up there.
Sure.
Real quick, just pop it in. The southern border of the southernmost part of Germany is 3/4 of the way up North Dakota. The northern part of Germany is 300 miles north of Winnipeg. Okay, so when you hear people talk about Bremerhaven, Germany, and Hamburg and the like, they're talking about cities that are very near the top dot in that the thing that's in the center of Manitoba, that's way above the southern reaches of Hudson freaking Bay. So winter is very meaningful to the Germans, and because of cold, and they like heat. They don't like freezing to death, and they are scared shitless that they're going to have to shut down so many industrial processes like BASF and Langsfeld and all these other big chemical outfits and manufacturing outfits, which Germany is the backbone of Europe in. BASF famously makes a little bit of everything. And when I say a little bit of everything, that's a joke they use at that company. If every single thing in the world that's made, BASF makes a part of it, no matter what it is. No matter what it is, BASF has touched it. And if they start shutting down plants so that the Burgermeisters can stay warm, that's going to start a chain of events in their economy that will reverberate all through the European Union and therefore around the world. It's going to be very, very bad news. This is much more serious than people think it is.
The death toll would be incredible.
Yeah, warming centers don't cut it when you freeze to death getting to the warming center.
Exactly.
Yeah, it is a problem.
Fucking cold. Yeah, it's really cold.
Yeah. So, and honestly, turning on the coal plants is not the worst idea at this point, because then what little natural gas they do have, they can actually use for the things they need to use it for.
The problem with the coal plants, the former coal plants, is that a lot of them were converted to use oil. So now they have to convert them back to coal, which is still going to take time and money to reconvert them back. But again, still not as long or as costly as turning the new plants back on. But that's the short term. They've got to smarten up in the long term too. They've got to go back to their nuclear plants, because they have a few of them that, with maybe a little bit of upgrading to bring them into the modern day.
They need to take some of those. They need to take some of their capital they've got sitting around and start standing up molten salt reactors and that sort of thing, modern reactors. They're right to shut down those old things, but they need to replace them with safer, cleaner, better nukes that are available now. Nuclear is the future. The environmental concerns are real, and they should be real. It's actually the biggest problem facing mankind right now. I shit you not. And it just because it'll be our children and grandchildren that reap the whirlwind. I don't think we can do enough. I actually don't think we can do enough for the environment right now. I mean, short of a massive die-off of the human race, there's no help for. Well, we're just doing too many bad things on too many fronts. We can't shut it down. But we can, if you can take ameliorative steps like building safe nuclear plants, molten salt, thorium reactors, that sort of thing, then you can at least be making steps toward being a little bit more responsible as far as the environment is concerned. Anyway,
we don't have to change everything overnight, but we can start course correcting.
Yes,
you're definitely right on that, Skep. And we also, with the narratives that have been floating around the media, we also have to be skeptical of are these people or this group, are they genuine in wanting to course correct, or are they just looking for another way to bilk you out of more money, or the tax coffers out of more money?
Yeah.
I think they're just trying to keep old people from freezing.
Well, Germany
yeah.
definitely, yeah,
Yeah.
because they're in a bad spot right now. They are going to be climbing uphill for a while until they can course correct. If they do course correct, again, they haven't made any hard long-term decisions, but at least they're trying to keep people alive. Keep the power
Well, you know,
on.
we actually have one of the world's greatest energy experts here in the United States. We could send him Hunter. Hunter has been
an
consulting
idea.
all around the world. He is an expert in energy. We could just send him Hunter.
The miracle of the Ukraine. Yes,
Yeah.
yes, the miracle man of the Ukraine. Let's
Hunter
send
Biden
him.
could totally fix this, and we could just pay him in hookers and blow. That's cheap.
Send him
Crack,
to Putin,
actually.
to Putin
Oh, crack.
to help out Putin.
Yeah, we could
Well,
totally.
you can buy
do
a
that.
lot more crack, Harry, so it's more cost effective that way.
Yeah.
He's pretty cheap for what he does. Look at what he did for Ukraine's energy concerns.
Yeah, no, he's brilliant.
Proof is in the pudding.
Brilliant man. He's the smartest man Joe Biden knows.
And a very gifted artist. They like those in Germany. Let's. Did I say that? Okay. Speaking of people saying things,
Switch screen. Switch screen.
Yeah, you're staying on the
Oh.
map
Sure
up.
that every
You're on Skep screen.
damn it.
That's why I'm here.
There we go.
And embiggen yourself.
Yeah, let's
There
do
we
that.
go, boomer.
Okay.
Oh, here
Almost
we
like I knew what I
go.
was
Good
doing.
here we.
everybody knows Exxon's profits. Why don't you tell them what Exxon's profits were this quarter? Exxon made more
Look how
money than
pleased he
God
is.
this year.
The
And by
richest
the way,
smile
nothing's
of
changed.
a
And they're not.
corpse.
By the way, one thing I want to say about the oil companies, they talk about how they have 9,000 permits to drill. They're not drilling. Why aren't they drilling? Because they make more money not producing more oil. The price
that
goes
is
up,
creepy.
number one. And number two, the reason they're not drilling is they're buying back their own stock, which should be taxed, quite frankly, buying back their own stock and making no new investments. So I always thought.
This man is dangerously out of touch.
Yeah,
And I'm almost getting the feeling that he believes the bullshit now.
Yep. You know, buying back stock, Harry. Why do companies buy back stock? Rhetorical question. Because
Well, yes.
that's the best use of their capital. That's why that's the only reason to ever expend capital is it's the best use of capital. What's the best use of capital mean? If you get the highest internal rate of return on the capital that you expend. If you're buying back your stock, okay, what does that do? Well, it decreases the size of the available capital account to the public and therefore bolsters the price. Why do you do that? Because as a company, you have this altruistic thing that you have a warm, fuzzy feeling in your heart and you want to do something nice for the shareholders. Bah, humbug! No way. You do that because you're scared shitless of being taken over. You know, the oil companies have gone from being the biggest companies on earth, dwarfing anything, to people like Jeff Bezos could look over and buy Exxon. He could just buy it, just for fun, and so these guys are going to protect their share price. They're just acting rationally, economically rationally. That's one thing. That's what Biden is tilting at windmills here, because what he's doing is he's getting angry and wants to penalize oil companies for acting rationally in the economic system within which they must live and survive and thrive.
Well, I believe
Chase,
this used to be referred to as bullhorning. I think that was one of the words they would use to describe it, where the president, without actually exercising any authority, simply stands up and bangs his fists on the pulpit and says, this is wrong and we need to do better. Or we need to do whatever the thing is. Buy war bonds, whatever it is.
The bully pulpit.
And it works a lot better when you don't see the person doing it as a senile person who's the victim of elder abuse.
Well, who's also baying at the moon? You know,
Yeah.
he's not saying rational things.
No,
And when he puts on that creepy voice at the end, I get a Boris Karloff flashback. That's not good. It's not a happy one.
Not in a good
no.
way.
Well, I mean, there's the oil companies are not a monopoly, and there's nothing stopping somebody from breaking the cartel. Do you think for a minute that Arco wouldn't want to sell twice as much gas for 5% less and cash in on all of the record profits that they would make during this time when gas prices are irrationally expensive? Do you think for a second that these guys are all going to not try to start undercutting each other? Because that's what happens. These cartels
that's
never
right.
hold. So unless you honestly believe that there was a smoke-filled room where a bunch of old fat guys wearing suits with cigars sat around and said, okay, we're going to hold for the next 2 years, nobody step out of line. If that was actually going on, you can't keep a secret like that. And you can't keep people in line. There's nothing that you can use to keep these people from breaking, because if you know that just cutting 1 or 2% gives you a huge amount of market share and you're just like making tons of money, that's the beginning, and it just slides. The reason prices are high is not because the oil companies are just trying to rip everybody off. Biden just doesn't know what he's talking about. And the same thing with those permits. People smarter than me in terms of oil policy have gone over these claims, you know, about the permits, because it's not just the initial permits. There's all sorts of other approvals that go on. The people who produce oil do not trust this government, and they have good reason to not trust this government. Go ahead, Functional.
There's a couple of things, specifically with Exxon, because he mentions just Exxon here. You know how many new permits Exxon got in the United States this year? 0. They have current standing permits, but they got no new approval.
Exploratory
You know how many-
permits, not even ones to actually do full-blown stuff, just exploratory permits.
Yeah, but I mean, even new drill sites. You know how many, just for example, Guyana got, or Exxon got from Guyana for this year alone? That brings the total up to 10 in the last handful of years that they're now drilling in Guyana because of all.
No. You're thinking of Equatorial Guinea. It's different from.
Is it
Guyana.
Guinea? No, it's
It's Equatorial Guinea that has the humongous oil reserve. It's just off the coast, and they actually have an.
Oh
island
no!
called
This was
Oil
specific.
Island.
This is specifically Guyana.
The South. You're talking about South.
I'm just
South
in
America.
comparison. But
There may
one
be
of the
two
other-
stories here.
Yeah, there are.
Yeah,
there are. That's
There are.
right.
I looked them up. As
Sorry,
well. I just
Functional, I'm
wanted.
sorry.
Just
All
saying,
those
hey,
all
they
those
got
tiny G
4,
countries.
America got 0. Like, it's kind of like, okay, well, you're like, whatever. So yeah, maybe something's going on there, Joe. Maybe you should pay attention. And the other thing is, Exxon is still challenging since I don't remember how long, but they're still challenging California courts to allow them to offload and subsequently transport via trucking, because the pipe burst in California in 2015. But because of all these permits, they're not letting Exxon offload their oil from the shore.
Well,
Do
of course they're doing it on
somebody
purpose.
could walk in. Oh, I don't know. Maybe somebody from the executive office could walk in and say, "No, executive order. Get the goddamn oil flowing." Who's Mr. Goodhair from California? Newsom.
Yeah.
Like, get the damn oil flowing, Newsom. But no, why bother? Why bother doing something that would actually maybe be beneficial to the country? That
Did you
I can directly draw to his doorstep and saying, you're not doing anything. One of your biggest supporters in California's congressional districts are supporting you, Joe, but not supporting the transportation of oil. So you're lying. You're full of bull.
Well, Tammy Duckworth, Skep's favorite politician, has
Save the day.
She's going to save the day with a bill, which is going to it's just going to fix everything. It's the Gas Price Gouging Prevention Act.
Oh boy.
I read this entire thing.
Can you give us the cliff notes?
I
We're a
can
little
give the
behind
cliff
schedule,
notes.
so give us the real short version of how dumb this is, Skep.
Real quick, what it is, provides the president the ability by proclamation to levy huge fines, like $100 million a day, on oil companies that charge too much for oil. And down in, if you go down just a little bit in that, Harry, if you can go down to where it says what the provisions are. No, stop. Let's see. No, go up a little bit. Up a little bit.
Okay.
Hang on. Let me. Okay. In general, it shall be unlawful for any person to sell. Blah 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 blah. Gasoline or other petroleum distillate covered by a proclamation issued under paragraph 2 at a price that A, is unconscionably excessive, and so both of these have to be satisfied. B, indicates the seller is taking unfair advantage of the circumstances related to an international crisis in to increase prices unreasonably. Other than that sentence being a horrifying grammatical nightmare, it means that the president has determined that it is the price that the company is selling oil at is unconscionably excessive, and it's unfair. Unconscionable and unfair. Both are value judgments made by, I guess, the president who issues the proclamation. And then when you get down to the penalty part, it says essentially that it can be that every day of a continuing, every single day, every 24-hour period of a continuing violation is a separate occurrence, and so is subject to the maximum $100 million fine potentially.
Mm-hmm.
And that's at the president's discretion.
You could just choose to not sell oil. It would be the least risky thing you could do.
You know what? You're not wrong. You could see them actually begin to pull back and say, okay, we'll sell this to more friendly markets. And that could be an interesting artificial decrease of petroleum, because in the short term, cartels can enforce cartel rules. It never lasts long term. Here's the thing about cartels. They always fall apart, but they don't fall apart immediately. And that could be very, very tough for the United States if he chases away the oil companies with some nonsense like this. I saw this was referred back to committee, by the way, Harry.
Yeah. So we have, here's something fun. We have, I'm actually trying really hard when I plan out the show to have sanity breaks more regularly, so we don't all want to just undo ourselves. Shut up, Guardian. Fluffy crab that wears sponge as a hat discovered in Western Australia. Let me read that again. Fluffy crab that wears a sponge as a hat discovered in Western Australia. I'm not really
Elwin,
sure
we can't have one.
What else there is to say? But there's this crab, and it uses its little pincers to take like a sea sponge, and then it trims it and then wears it as a little hat. I really am not really sure what I should say about this. Serenity, what do you think about this? Are you back?
Oh yeah, no, I've been here. It's just no. I mean, it's Australia. I'm just glad it's not poisonous.
But how many
The
times
name
have you
is
seen?
hilarious.
But it's
Lamorak
made
Domina
a hat.
Deagle?
It's the hat part that has me confused.
What is it?
I mean, it's not like a hermit crab finding a shell and then crawling in it and going, oh, I guess this is my house now. This is a crab that made a hat out of a sponge and then walks around wearing it. This is like some children's cartoon level of BS that's going on.
Is there any hypothesis in the article as to why he's doing this?
I don't know. What kind of mind reading would you use?
You know, the only thing I can think is that the crab knows that its Latin name comes from the French naturalist Jean-Baptiste Lamarck, and because it's Lamarck dromia, and since Lamarck was an advocate of the theory that evolution proceeds according to natural laws, it's just saying I'm going to live up to my heritage, and it's evolving in front of our eyes and beginning to wear clothes. That's what I think's going on.
Well, he's already got a nice coat.
I think maybe the crab's slightly retarded. I think it's slightly. Well, I shouldn't say retarded. I shouldn't use that word. I'm sorry, Susan. I'm sorry. I'm sorry. I'm sorry.
Don't be retarded.
The crab is educationally disadvantaged, and its mom makes it wear this as like a little helmet. What do you think of that theory?
Then she puts strings on it so he can't lose it.
Are you going to talk about
mittens?
the sponge being acting as a chemical deterrent? Are we saying that this crab is sponge-worthy?
It's definitely sponge-worthy. I mean, you know, Elaine Bennis would be proud.
Yeah.
Because the noxious compounds, it acts as a deterrent for potential predators that would like to munch on this crab. So that's kind of cool. It's this
SpongeBob
sponge
crab
scarf.
Yeah.
It's, you know,
crabs.
and he's just so cute.
I think this crab could. I think people who are furries, that somebody needs to become a crab furry.
Oh, honey.
Oh yeah. Oh yeah.
Please.
No, but this isn't like a hard exoskeleton crab furry. This is like a soft plush crab.
I can get no one Google it, but I can guarantee you someone already has, or it's in the making. Knowing the
crab's one sponge. I don't know. What are we talking about here?
Oh yes, there is. Oh dear God.
I told you not to Google it.
You can't tell me not to do something. Sorry.
Don't Google it.
I would take that picture as a replacement for my current icon, but I think I'd just be shellfish.
Oh,
boo! Bad Skep, bad. Oh wait, I have my soundboard here. Let's see. Do I have a boo? There we go.
Still better than anything Joe Biden said.
There we go.
All right.
Well, I have Joe Biden. I have Joe Biden on the soundboard too.
And Corn Pop was a bad dude.
Okay.
Bad dude.
Enough of that.
Yeah, you're a bad president.
All right, so that's a crab. He's fuzzy. He has a sponge for a hat. Canada sets dates to ban some single-use plastics. You guys are just so virtuous. I wish we could be as nice as you guys.
Well, the thing is, like, my question is, this is the same question I had when straws got banned. Is, does this hurt the disabled community? Because banning plastic straws ended up hurting the disabled community.
I don't know, but it makes my brain disabled just trying to think of the rationale behind this crap.
It's a virtue signal.
There is a little bit behind the scenes because we ship a lot of our garbage overseas to Southeast Asia, and we've been having a lot of problems with that. And it's just been sitting out there in the ocean on these shipping containers, and the government is trying to cover their asses and
we can't
reduce it. But what it ends up doing is it inflates the amount of other garbage, because when they ban plastic bags, which is now more it's not hardline mandated, it's now optional, but if retailers choose to provide plastic bags, they pay a surtax, so they're charging them to whatever. And straws were banned. Plastic straws were banned in places like takeout, and they give you these paper straws. But in order to effectively, finish your drink, you need 3 or 4 of these paper straws. Elwin and I, we just buy big boxes of plastic straws and use those.
Take them with you.
And same thing with the plastic bags. People bring those quote-unquote reusable bags. Yes, they're reusable, but they're poorly constructed, and a lot of them get thrown out. There have been hundreds of tons of them now showing up in landfills. They're harder to break down than plastic. They're not recyclable like plastic bags. They're not reusable to transport garbage as plastic bags traditionally are. So you're causing more problems than you're trying to solve. If you want to incentivize people to find better ways, more biodegradable containers or environmentally friendly containers, or in their manufacture be more environmentally friendly, I'm all for that. But stop with these. It's like with the power generation stuff. It's they want to snap their fingers and make new technology just happen. That's not the way things frickin' work.
That's true.
You need to incentivize via public pressure or maybe government rebate, tax rebate, something. Not giving away something, but taking less for trying to do better. That would work. I could see that working because look at what has happened historically with quote-unquote single-use plastics. They use more recycled material. They use better easier to biodegrade or recycle plastics, and it's worked. It's cut down that sort of garbage footprint quite a bit.
Yeah. Well,
But
I want you to keep. Go ahead.
I'm almost done, but I'm just gonna say, like, going the other way in just hardlining this stuff, it doesn't work. It causes more problems than it's solving.
Well, I want you
Something
to
I've
keep
been paying a lot of
recycling in mind while I show you the next thing. Okay.
Oh boy.
This is absolutely terrible.
God.
So this is New York City, and what they've done is they've confiscated a bunch of not road legal motorcycles and scooters and ATVs and things, and then decided to hold this little press event where this killdozer is just driving over the top of all these not roadworthy vehicles that they captured over the last couple of years.
That's no killdozer, Harry. That's a woke dozer. You barely get over that trike.
Some of those are just regular scooters. Like those are regular.
they're not.
mopeds.
They're not
not
supposed to
road
be on
legal
the
in New
road.
York.
But
Oh,
the
Lord.
point is, all of these things have all kinds of recyclables and resale values. Instead of the city just donating to, like, 1-800 Cars for Kids or just some kind of charity, or doing anything useful to actually help the taxpayers, like taking these apart and selling useful parts on the secondhand market, there are firms that will do this for them. They decided, no, we need to make a point and line up all of these things that we could be getting value out of, and instead
Trash.
just make trash. Just make a huge pile of trash. So much of this could have been reused or recycled to the benefit of the city's coffers to pay for enforcement. But instead, they decide to do this. And I'm kind of... I would think that the mayor of New York, Mr. Eric Adams, was supposed to be a better mayor. But so far, between his weird vegetarian fetish and stuff like this, he's an idiot.
He is, but he's better than what came before.
I don't know.
Is he?
I don't know.
Is he?
Yeah.
Is he? I'm not so sure.
Kind of more of the same to me.
What, like, his little presser that he did after this, his little speech was like, they are causing problems for the city. It's like, you stupid mother effer. You have people literally getting gunned down in the goddamn street, and you give a damn about a stupid ATV? Get off your lazy vegan butt. Plant-based butt.
It's
and
great
do
that you
something.
mentioned that, Serenity, because he campaigned on being tougher on crime.
Yeah, and he's so far been easier on crime.
And he hasn't
He's
been,
not
well,
on
he's been neutral. He hasn't gone either way, which has been like, well, there you go.
What
But
you
even,
should-
okay, I might not agree with civil forfeiture like this, the government seizing your assets or your property like this, but maybe, sure, I may not agree with the law, but give them the choice to sell it. Give them the choice to donate it to communities who maybe might be able to use these and use them legally. I don't know. There's so many better, like you said, Harry, there's so many better things you could be doing than just creating trash.
Oh, but he has a photo op, so they show, oh, look how tough on crime we are. Sure, there's people getting shivved for a sandwich and just all the other stuff that's going on. We've got random bits of crime where these hardened criminals are just cold-cocking old Asian people for the hell of it. There's all sorts of things going, but we're just gonna do this. We're just gonna get out the bulldozer and we're gonna crush a bunch of things that we should be selling.
Yeah, we
to
already
make a
came up
point.
with 3 better ideas. Yours, Harry, and in chat, Elwin, motors could be used for mobility scooters. Hell yeah.
Sure.
Assassin, nothing about auctioning these off and maybe putting the proceeds into a charity or into public coffers to clean up the streets. Something.
You know what Eric Adams would say? Eric Adams would say, we're not going to give recycled, refurbished, second-rate things to our old people who vote. He's very conscious of that. No, nothing but the best for our old people. So they get all new stuff, and we get to have this great virtue signal moment while we kill the bad machines with the good machines. What an asshole!
I'm just so disgusted by these people.
Yeah.
So this is a thing. We don't need to spend a lot of time on it. I think this is just a tempest in a teapot. This whole thing about the little piece of paper that Biden had that organized his thoughts. I do understand both sides of this. Okay, I get it. I'm not trying to defend Biden. I'm just saying that if you were planning Joe Biden's schedule, this is exactly the thing you would put together to try to keep him kind of on task, because he's a little erratic and unsteady. But any president would get something like this, maybe not with quite so much bold uppercase text on it. But this isn't really all that abnormal, and really not that surprising. I think people are making more of it than they need to.
Yeah, these things have to be choreographed. They really do, and they're not a natural thing at all. They are being performed by a lot of people who don't have a lot of time to devote to any one particular thing. So it's important that he get a list of things. Yeah, I agree with you here. I think it's a little bit unfair.
Yeah, an itinerary is just common
for
sense.
something like this, because I guarantee George W. Bush and Barack Obama had the same sort of thing. Yeah. And if it would have been, I would have been okay with it if this had said, if it had sub steps in it. Do not talk to the press here. They are the enemy. Keep your mouth shut here. Do not talk to this guy. Don't take questions from Peter Doocy. If it had stuff like that, then we could have a good time with it. And so I think it's a bit of a stretch to mock this too hard.
My issue is that he's stupid enough to turn it toward the camera. That's my problem. I don't give a shit that he has an itinerary. My issue is that he went and turned it around toward the camera, the very expensive camera with a telephoto lens. It's like, you're an idiot.
I kind of agree with you guys, but with such specificity.
Yeah.
And you in capitals. I mean, that's kind of unprecedented from, people with just itineraries, especially, leader of the free world. You have all these advisors, all these people in your day-to-days with all your press conferences and your wheelings and dealings and photo ops and everything. You got to have an itinerary. You got to have somebody to brief you before, like you said, Skep, with the press. You probably don't want to take, this guy's question. He's a real dickbag or whatever, or, or just saying something like, Doocy's going to be there. Be prepared, Mr. President, blah, 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 blah. So I understand that. They're very busy. They can't, they have to delegate some of that brain power to other people. I get that. But with such specificity, it's kind of like, you're looking behind the screen and seeing the wizard playing with the machine, Okay,
it's break time.
Yeah.
Woohoo!
French's mustard. Hey, Canadian friends, your favorite condiment just got a whole lot cooler. A refreshingly savory and sweet ketchup popsicle made from 100% Canadian tomatoes.
No.
Yeah.
Mommy, why?
Yeah.
I'm so glad you're here.
Ketchup chips are okay. This is going too far.
This wouldn't have been nearly as much fun if you hadn't shown up. It's a French's ketchup popsicle.
But why?
Man.
Frozen tomatoes don't taste good. That's why there isn't any tomato flavored ice cream. That's not the way tomatoes work. Oh my God! Are you kidding?
On behalf of Canadians everywhere, I'm sorry. Hey, can you just integrate us into the couple next to 50-something states?
Is this
Ontario can be
Canadian tomato farmers? Is that what this is?
We grow a lot of tomatoes up here. I mean, we grow a lot of everything up here. I give them. God, I can taste the bile in my mouth. I give them props for trying to make a new product, but it's not a good product.
Wait, I desperately want to hear, how does it get worse?
Okay, they have a recipe for it on their website if you want to make it yourself.
Oh, God.
It's tomato juice, ketchup, and then Frank's Red Hot original cayenne pepper sauce.
Yeah.
Oh, so it's a frozen Caesar without the alcohol.
Yep, Caesar Rim, optional.
See,
Caesar
that I
wine,
could get
yeah.
behind if you infuse it with a little bit of the booze, so you get like
Well,
you
you're
know
meant to
You
stick
obviously
it
all
in the
have
booze.
lost your minds.
You're meant to stick it
You
in the
have
booze,
taken
like
leave
how
of your
people have
senses.
done the McDonald's soft serve in the coffee. You're meant to take the popsicle out, stick it in, and that's what you're supposed to do. And it's supposed to kind of like go that way and keep it cold without actually putting an icicle in it.
it's too gimmicky. I mean,
Yeah, I know.
either you put the vodka in the damn pop or you just drink a damn Caesar.
Jose Andreas, I think it's Jose Andreas in Vegas. They have like a walk-up window storefront thing at one of his places where you can get a popsicle made from cucumber and Hendrick's gin. Now,
Yeah.
I could go for one of those on a hot day in Vegas. Not that I'm a big fan of alcohol and heat, but at least it's something cold and the flavors kind of work together. This
Can
is
I
just
point a
little
sad
happy
and
feeling?
wrong.
Yeah,
This
Point
is sad and
yeah,
wrong.
yeah,
Can
oh,
I
yeah.
point something out to you, functional, that the freezing point of ethanol is something like 175 degrees below zero. That popsicle would have to be so cold to get the ethanol to freeze that it would probably damage your mouth if you tried to eat it.
You're definitely right. So when they do try to make frozen alcoholic desserts, they have to be either partially frozen, like you would with a slushy, or in a case like this where it's a hard frozen dessert, or savory dessert or whatever. The alcohol content has to be so low that you're basically just getting that sort of tingle on your tongue, and you'd have to eat 100 of them just to get a little buzz going. But I mean, it's not the point to
has
get
to be that cold to get the alcohol to freeze. The whole
Well,
thing
it's
has
where
to
you use like pectin or gelatin or something to
Yeah.
make it work.
Jello shots.
okay, yeah. So you encapsulate the alcohol.
Yeah, sorry. Yeah, that's what I meant,
All
Skep.
right,
Like,
okay.
Also,
but
also
no. Your
as-
point is correct. Like just taking a Bloody Mary and sticking it in a popsicle mold, it's not going to work. It's not going to freeze. You're going to end up with slush with a little.
Well,
bit
there's
of alcohol
frozen,
on top.
there's frozen, and then there's frozen, and there are fun things that happen with ice crystals when you throw sugar into the mix. So, but this is a story for another time. It's still sad and wrong, and I'm not going to. I just want
Put up the
you
meme
guys
again,
to
put up
know
the meme,
that
blame us.
that
Blame
we
us.
are keeping an eye on you guys, and don't make us step in, man.
Sorry,
Okay.
we gave you Shatner. Okay, we're sorry
Okay.
about Bieber.
And
But
Celine Dion.
we also gave you Celine, and she's
Yeah.
big down there. Okay, so
You also gave
know,
us Brian Adams.
we can give you
Hey, I like Bryan
Tim
Adams.
Hortons and
Yeah.
Brian Adams, but
I never was impressed.
I don't
with
know.
Tim
Eh?
Hortons.
We're just sorry for all the bad stuff.
Well, here's another stupid thing, and I don't understand
I'm waiting
the
for a
logic
cool
here.
nickel.
So
to
this
show
is so the log cabin Republicans have been around like forever.
Yeah.
But supposedly the story that's going around is that they were told, thanks but no thanks, we don't need you at our Texas convention thing.
Yeah.
And this is probably
they
more a
got
thing to
called
address
out.
to Skep, because people have been gone from tolerating to just outright accepting the more flamboyant parts of the Republican Party for a while now. I was kind of surprised at these. Do you think this is a real story, that there's just a handful of guys in Texas who didn't get the memo, or is this
Yeah.
just being blown out of proportion?
This is being blown out of proportion for a couple of reasons. First of all, I suspect that the LCR, the log cabin Republicans, thought that they would be welcomed with open arms down there, and I doubt that they went through the traditional process for getting a booth. I bet there was some sort. They thought that, well, they'll make an administrative shortcut for us because we're the log cabin Republicans. Those guys can be a little bit entitled sometimes, and
Mhm.
that may have happened. Or the other thing that happened is, it might be just a bunch of yahoos down there say, no, we're not getting on board with that. We don't want to have the appearance of advocating in any way for the LGBT, Q alphabet lobby. We don't want to look like we are on their side in any way because they have become so obnoxious. We think they are toxic, and that toxin has rubbed off on the log cabin Republicans. And the log cabin Republicans, when they get snubbed, and it happens once in a while in the Republican Party, they always whine like a steam turbine and you just have to wait for them to stop, and then everybody will move on with their lives, and that will be fine. The other thing is the log cabin Republicans are always constantly frustrated with the lack of power they have in the Republican Party. But the Republican Party is basically the boys are boys and girls are girls party, and doesn't really as a party overtly buy into anything more than say tolerance for all. We don't advocate anything, and whatever you may think, the log cabin Republicans are advocates for their gayness in addition to their Republican nuts, and they are gay first and Republican second is the way I would put it.
It's collective identity politics, and so far, at least in recent memory, the GOP isn't playing that. They've been more accepting than any political party I've been seeing. Like you said, Skep, it's not an outward embrace or pushing like the Dems do with their sort of overt pushing of narratives and identity politics, but it's not the reverse either. It's just, doesn't matter what race you are, doesn't matter what part of the country you're from.
This wasn't a bunch of Tea Party guys saying no gays allowed. And
we don't want to buy in with your identity politics. Get lost.
That's the way the log cabin Republicans
and
play it.
The left wing media have been surprise, surprise, dishonest in saying they're not getting their booth or whatever. And it's like, yeah, but you're omitting a key piece of information there. They've never had a booth. They keep trying to get in, and they keep going, no. If you want to join other groups or, be a part of the Republican Party, we have no problem. Just check your identity politics at the door. We don't care if you're black, gay, whatever. Just leave it at the door. We're here for the Republic, for which it stands. That's it.
Yeah, I'm not a big fan. Go ahead.
I would like to say one thing though.
Well, and I have a question for you too, Serenity. So ask your thing, and then I've got a question for you.
Well, my issue is, and I'm starting to see this more and more and more, at least with the conservative-leaning people on YouTube who've made a job of it. They're starting to get bad about the homosexuality thing. Because I saw several of them celebrate the fact that Japan basically said that the gay marriage ban is constitutional there. I understand it's another country, but they were like, Japan doesn't allow the woke shit to come through, and and they also go on about like, oh, well, Disney's now horrible, terrible because like two characters who were the same gender kissed. And it's like, they're not doing it in the way of, oh, it's because they're trying to groom, or it's literally just because, even though there's been same shows, people of two different genders kissing. Like there's a very vocal group who are starting to get in the dangerous area of things, of starting to go against, basically saying that homosexuality is not something that they would allow, let me put it that way. And that's right now, that works. The fact that there's so much other things going on in the world, like with inflation, everything like that, has kept them kind of off the radar because people have more important things to worry about. But if they're not careful, this is going to bite them in the ass. I'm not talking about this group. I'm just saying, like, I'm starting to notice a bunch of more conservative leaning things starting to revert, I guess is the best way to put it, the way things were back in the 80s and maybe early 90s. Where it's
the pendulum shift is going a little too far.
Yeah, and they're like, gay people bad. It's like, no, it's not. Homosexuality is bad. It's when you start to try to force it down everyone's throat. That's when it's bad. But the same thing goes with straight stuff. Do not have two straight characters making out on a kid's show. I don't want to see it, just as I don't want to see two gay characters. But when it's like an older kid and it's literally just, hi, sweetie, hi, and that was it, it's not that big of a fucking deal. Get over it. There's a lot of, it's the whole fact of like, when it's kind of reminds me how when teenagers rebel, they go too far and don't understand that it's like, you do have the right to go, I don't like this. But when you start going, yeah, Japan's Chad, It's like, you're an asshole. Shut up.
You're acting like the people that you've purported to hate for the last 10 years.
Exactly.
So,
That's what
Serenity,
makes me mad, dude. Yo,
you're familiar. Well, are you familiar with a man named Peter Thiel?
let me make sure, because I remember faces better than I remember.
Well, he's a big money guy who happens to be a gay Republican.
Yes, I know what you're talking about. Yeah. Okay.
Yeah, and he is. Republicans don't care. No, nobody particularly. Most Republicans are very libertarian, and more in sort of the Mises Caucus kind of libertarian than the hippy dippy groovy sort of thing. That's a that might be a conversation for Tuesday. I guess the fact that the Mises Caucus actually prevailed at one of the most recent libertarian meetings. Very interesting time to be alive, I think. But I don't think Republicans, for the most part, care. But what we don't want to see happen is we don't want homosexuality to become, for the right, the same kind of problem that anti-Semitism seems to be for the left.
Yeah,
because there's a strong thread of anti-Semitism that they've had to deal with the liberals in the UK, for instance. Mm-hmm. And that's a real problem. And you see little bits of it here, and I don't fully understand. Even if you get it, don't tell me. But I have trouble wrapping my head around exactly what the thing is, but you see this pattern of anti-Semitism with the far left. Mm-hmm. That seems to just crop up. Again, makes no sense to me. But
agreed.
I think not getting a booth at a convention is not that uncommon a thing.
Oh yeah.
And Skep's probably right. You know, basically being Republican plus is probably not something that anybody is really all that anxious to have. It's not that they don't want these. If, as Skep said, if these people individually wanted to join a bunch of other committees, they could be Republican and gay it up all they want, but just having like the special rainbow booth at the end of Corridor C might just be more of a distraction than it's actually helpful. And we do have to be a bit careful, because this is something that pisses Susan off when we talk about homosexuals and we talk about people who are groomers who happen to also be homosexuals. We're not saying that most gay people are like that. Not saying that at all. Because statistics can be particularly damning.
Oh, yeah.
I mean, it would be ridiculous to pretend that there are certain statistics that you see in some very, very bad people that make white men look particularly bad. But that doesn't mean that most white men are bad. It just means that in this one group of outliers, white men are overrepresented. It means nothing about most white men. Any more so than this means anything about most homosexuals. I always joked with people a long time ago, and I just said, look, I'm not a good enough person to be completely tolerant, but I can manage a strong level of I don't give a shit.
Yeah, same.
I don't have to like somebody's lifestyle to actively not care about it. Fine, you're a decent human being. You give money to charity. You don't kick puppies. I don't really care what you do if you're a consenting adult and you're not screwing around with children. None of my business. And it's not a strong moral point. I just don't care. I really just don't. I don't have time. There's things I do care about. I care about things like nuclear power. I care about equal treatment under the law. I actually care about social mobility because I don't want to see everything come unraveled because we don't have it. There's things I care about a lot, but I don't care what people do with their penises for the most part.
Yeah.
Sorry, I didn't mean to talk about me.
With children.
Well, you
make good points.
It's one of those things that's like, this is the thing that I'm always afraid of on either side, is that a word gets overused or a term gets overused and then it means nothing. Groomer means nothing now. I literally see people throwing the word groomer around like they throw the word boomer around. And it means nothing. And it's like, way to go,
Zoomer.
Morons.
Or Karen. Karen is another one.
Yeah, Karen, Nazi, racist. Like all of it.
One of the negative aspects of the internet, though, it just things become super saturated, and then they just the shelf life of these things, these terms, they want they go through like a revolving door even faster.
But that is part of the problem, though, is that because of that, people build up a resistance to it, and then are just like, I don't give a fuck what you think, go away. And that's kind of the thing that always bothers me. The people who are pushing a lot of this stuff, like the people who first, like the big names who first started pushing the groomer shit, you're not focusing on the actual stuff. They're focusing on stuff that's very easy to get out, very quick, very clean. It's no one's going to actually look anything to it because the group that they're talking about is already a group they hate, and they already have a hate boner for, so it's just easy because they know no one's going to look into it.
I like the fact that I've made the word hate boner a thing that more people use. You're welcome.
Oh, I love hate boner.
Let me push. I got to push the conversation forward, though. I apologize.
No,
just for the sake.
The thing that scares me.
Because I'm already skipping a few articles. No, I take your point. And that's why a lot of times when somebody says something, I think, okay, can I rephrase this in a way that keeps the meaning?
Yeah.
Because that's a way of me proving to myself that I understand it. And then if I say it back to you and you say, yeah, that makes sense, then it's like, okay, good, I've got it. Yep. Everything's done. So, according to this article in the Daily Mail, it's on how to have sex with monkeypox. CDC releases bizarre guide telling patients to keep their clothes on or masturbate 6 feet from their partner if the urge arises while infected.
Wait. Is that real? Dude, that's not real.
There's a graphic and everything, dude.
Hey, what's
wait,
CDC
Whoa.
right there.
Why is that? Is it? Oh, those must be just long-haired men, right?
Yeah, how to have sex if you have monkeypox. Try virtual
sex.
sex.
Virtual sex.
6 feet to just diddle with yourself 6 feet apart. Wash your hands afterwards. Seems like a really good idea based on suggestions
Lord,
1 and 2.
Take me, I'm tired.
Avoid kissing. Wear clothes. Cover your rash. How about stay the fuck away from each other until the monkeypox passes? Why is this even necessary?
Yeah.
Why?
Is it like,
why? Why though? Why? Why? Why is any of this necessary? No. 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 No.
Oh God, I didn't want to know what it looked like.
Yeah.
The pox. Okay. This is dumb. Moving on. Okay.
Pox on both your houses.
So this is a thing that somebody in the UK did, because I love these going around man on the street kind of things where people talk to liberals and ask them questions and then they say the quiet part out loud. Check this out.
Saying refugees welcome here. Yes. I'm just wondering if you'd like to go down on a list saying you're willing to take the refugees into your home.
Of course not. Only problem is I rent.
You rent?
Yeah.
Maybe an issue?
So
Yeah,
close.
they've got, they put 9 bedrooms in a 4-bedroom house, so we're pretty much jammed.
Oh, it's too bad he doesn't have room.
I know.
Well, if I had any space, I
If
would.
you had any
yeah.
space.
Damn, again, so
I'll bet
close.
lots of these people have room, though.
Right.
No, none of them do.
Thank you very much.
Except for one.
Don't give it away.
Rental.
Yeah.
You can't
Yeah.
do it.
Another person with no property wanting to change policy.
You can't take one.
I don't
Don't have the space. We'll have a refugee stay at your house.
Yeah, I don't mind.
You go on the list?
I don't mind. Yeah, 100%. Give me the thing. Oh wait, I can't because my house is only a little small. And
Amazing. Now,
Yeah.
you'd be willing to have a refugee in your home?
It's because she had to put her name on a list. She
To
was
adopt
like,
a
yeah,
refugee?
fine.
No, thank you.
No, thank you. Any reason in particular?
At least she was truthful.
refugee are you talking about?
Excuse me, would you be willing to adopt a refugee into your home?
No.
No.
I
You
have
get the
more
general
respect for-
idea.
I have more respect for the people who are like, just like, no, because at least they're admitting to it. But the rest
Yeah.
of them, it's like, you lied, bitches.
No, I want somebody else to take care of the problem. I'm doing my part by holding this fucking sign.
Oh, you poor darling.
I'm
poor
doing the
darling.
hard, courageous work.
Yeah.
I'm
Do you
doing
know
my
how brave
part.
I have to be to stand out here in
With
what
the
passes for
care
heat in the UK?
That mommy and daddy probably paid for. I'm sorry.
All right. Okay, stop swearing, Harry. It's the sign of a small mind. So
Yeah,
I was
have
looking.
a tiny one then.
I was actually
fucking
looking
resent
for a science article, and instead of finding a science article, I found this. More rage fuel. Accept all cookies. I don't care. The rise of inequality research. Can span disciplines help tackle injustice? Now, here's the here's somebody who's very, very concerned about this. And is it bad of me that when I see a picture like this, I just want to go, okay, is this somebody who got in based on merit, or are we just creating fake science to help people feel good about themselves because they're scientists? and
Piper Herrick,
quotes?
excuse me.
That's
Yeah.
always my thought. It's like, did you get
Also,
in because
yes.
you earned it, or did you get in because they had no other
Well,
choice?
I scrolled through this stupid thing, and I will spare you a lot of it. And I'm going to give you the Cliff Notes version of it, actually, quite literally.
Bless you,
But you
Barry.
scroll down through this article talking about science and inequality and how we basically we're bringing like an HR perspective into scientific research, because that's what we totally need. She references a book, Thomas Piketty's French economist Thomas Piketty's 2013 book, Capital in the 21st Century.
They're French. That already dissuades their opinion.
Yeah, a French economist. I wonder what this book is all about. Well,
Do they quote?
so
Macron all the
I go
time?
to Goodreads and check this thing up, and this is
many-
this is his book, Capital in the 21st Century. And I started reading through the comments because, of course, I'm not reading this damn thing.
Yeah.
And so I find an article in Vox, because they're going to give it their most
boy.
favorable, if it ever loads, favorable interpretation of this sort of thing. But here's the bullet points of this thing. Remember, this is an article supposed to be about science, but this is the underpinning of how they're looking at science. The ratio of wealth to income is rising in all developed countries. Absent extraordinary interventions, we should expect that trend to continue. If it continues, the future will look like the 19th century, where economic elites have predominantly inherited their wealth rather than working for it. And the final one, the best solution would be a globally coordinated effort to tax wealth. This is midwit economics at best, and maybe if you're a French economist, this makes sense. But this kind of thinking is not a rigorous scientific underpinning for anything. This is dogma that you're giving to the science HR director so that she can just nag people about their research. I don't want anybody along the lines of this woman to have a job in the academy. I want all of this gone forever.
Amen.
There's no place for any of this crap. So she can just sit around in her little drum circle where they knit pussy hats or whatever it is they do, and they can just talk about how evil the patriarchy is somewhere else.
Well, the problem is that you have high schools and colleges that have gone from merit-based admissions to lottery-based admissions, thinking that, well, we'll get better equity, we'll get equalness among the races. A lottery system that's truly randomized will yield a student population that reflects the population of people trying to get in across the races without regard to merit. I don't know whether or not there is some fundamental things that they have to achieve, but I know that California actually has a law that prohibits, insanely prohibits merit-based application systems as discriminatory. Did you know that? That's actually a state law.
I'm not entirely sure about the application of that law and what it allows and doesn't allow. I do know that further down in the schedule, I have a thing about this. This
I'm
very
sorry.
topic.
I didn't mean to tip that off.
No, it's okay.
That's where I did that reading. Okay, that's why.
Oh
I
no,
got that
it's
information.
just me and my friends and 10 people watching. I think we'll survive. How about this?
Hi,
This
people.
will make you feel better. This is fantastic. You're gonna like this.
Hello, my beautiful friends. It's the lesbian Snow White here, aka the pronoun
What the
gal. And today I'm going to show
fuck?
you how to use rats, pronouns, and sentences. So
Rats, pronouns in sentences.
Kill it with
She's
fire.
made Nigel into a freaking pronoun.
Kill it with fire.
Serenity.
Lord.
Get the
So-
flamer.
Let's just see
The
a little
heavy
more of
got
flamer.
what lesbian Snow White on TikTok has to say
Oh,
about
there's emoji
neopronouns.
pronouns too. There's emoji.
Yeah.
let's
I think her
go.
BMI is-
Rats? Like ratatouille? No, these are just neo-pronouns. And I understand how that can be confusing.
No,
because,
it's not.
you've never heard of them. But it's
I have.
because a lot
Yeah,
of people
I've
are
heard of them.
judgmental, which is why we make these videos so more people can get comfortable with using them in person. I swear the world is like a wave. You gotta be like, okay, nothing is real, let's just...
Yeah, nothing is real, Shut up. I'm
Yeah.
sorry. It's
Of
just
course, she has that stupid princess from frickin' Adventure Time as her icon. Of course she does.
Of course,
Nothing
but
is
yes,
real, but I'm going to tell you definitions of things that you now have to follow.
nothing is real. Just go with it. You know, it's
That's
all.
right.
It's
Just go
it's,
with it.
It's like the groomer version of postmodernism. It's just
Well,
terrible.
Harry,
the thing is,
Harry,
I have-
when Harry,
Hold
when
on.
the
Go ahead, Skep.
When the apocalypse comes, what you're looking at on screen is called the prey animal.
There ain't enough meat on her.
Okay, Serenity, what were you going to say?
You can make
It's like-
soup with the bones.
True. I don't even think she has enough bone marrow for that. But anyway, like I do wonder how many of these people it is a put on for
yeah.
maybe not necessarily attention, maybe for money.
Mhm.
Like because
Eyeballs are money, yeah.
yeah, because it's one of those things where it's kind of like it's the Al Sharpton disease of race things are never going to be fixed, at least not to Al Sharpton's feeling, because then he loses out on money. These people are going to keep making up pronouns, not because they actually believe the bullshit they're saying, but because it gets them attention, it gets them money. Because if she's checkmarked on TikTok, TikTok pays her.
Yeah.
So it's one of those things where it's kind of like, I honestly believe there are people out there like this. I'm not saying there aren't. But when it's this kind of stuff, it does make me think that maybe, just maybe, their entire purpose is to do it for the money. Because we've had that issue with YouTubers where they would fake shit. And then you have like younger people who fall for it, who are like, they're not faking, it's real. Like the whole Jake Paul kidnap thing that happened several years ago. So it's
I feel bad. I feel like to some degree, your cynicism is partially my fault.
hey man, I've always been like this.
I feel like I've taken your already cynical nature and made it worse. And I'm sorry.
Well, it's also a
I'm
hope
sorry
my
for what I
sanity.
did to you.
But this also keeps me sane, because if I think everyone's actually like this, I will shoot myself. So
Yeah.
I'd much rather think she's just a money grubbing bitch.
I definitely think there's a lot of those
Yeah.
I don't want to call them grifters, but they're
Opportunists.
I use the word grifter
Yeah.
all the time, and save
I
some
like
time for Skep here.
Sorry.
No, that's okay. It passed. Don't
Okay.
move on.
Sure.
grievance peddlers.
There we go. That works better.
Yeah, it's part of the whole grievance studies thing. Lindsay on James Lindsay on Twitter is one of the best reasons to even be on Twitter.
Oh, I thought you were gonna bring up queer kids stuff. I'm like,
No.
okay, show's over.
Not that Lindsay.
James Lindsay, no.
Drunken Uncle's already done such a great job on queer
Hashtag
kids stuff.
save Teddy.
Can't even compete with that. Let's see. So this is under a thing that I'm simply calling rare displays of common sense.
Uh-oh, that's a good
So
thing.
there was the ruling body for swimming actually realized that biology matters, and they came out with a ruling saying, sorry, if you've already gone through puberty as a male and then you become trans, you don't get to compete in women's swimming.
You don't get to BTFO born cis women, which is what they were doing.
It's just acknowledging the fact that, well, the fact that they have this innate biological advantage, and that going on hormone blockers just doesn't undo it. Now, there was some. Hold on one second, Serenity. There were some people who were saying that this sounds like they're telling people that if they're going to transition, they should do it early. And they didn't do that. They are simply saying, just looking at the facts, that if you've already gone through puberty as a male, competing later as a female, no matter what you do, is not going to be competitive. That's all they said. But there was some criticism, but they're thinking you're trying to encourage people to transition earlier. And I do think if they did transition before puberty, there's a very good chance that it might actually be fair. But nobody here is suggesting, including this ruling body, that that's the thing that people should do. Go ahead, Serenity.
Yeah. Well, it's one of those things, like, it's not even just muscle stuff. Like, when you saw Leah Thomas stand next to the other women, they were at least head and shoulders above everybody. So just height alone, it wasn't even muscle or bone density at that point. It was just height. So it's one of those things where it's kind of like, that alone is like, no.
Careful, Serenity, pointing out biological differences between the sexes.
I'm a girl though. And I'm Jewish. Kick me.
I like. I mean, to your point, Harry, I appreciate the fact that people might be a little skeptical. I think that there's nothing really insidious going on. They're just putting the governing body is putting a hard line of, okay, well, whatever you are by age 12, be a male, female, transitioned or not, that's the definitive age on which we will categorize you within our sports. Interesting that they're opening up they're opening a separate open category. So does that mean that, people have transitioned past that cutoff point and second-rate males are going to compete, which are kind of the same thing? Or are they just going to say that the, air quotes, men's division is the open category, which I think in most professional sports leagues, at least here in North America, are. There's no regulations that say a woman cannot play for the NHL, the NBA, the NFL, etc. It's just they can't physically compete with their male counterparts. Mm-hmm. And there are specific guidelines in the WNBA that says, no, you can't be a man in our league. Or the WHL, the Women's Hockey League. I know a lot of you people are probably like, WHL, what the fuck is that?
Yeah, well, we're not gonna solve the world's problems today. But like I said, the main thing is that I'm sure they were under a lot of pressure to do anything other than what they did. But good for them for actually just looking at the science objectively and just doing the right thing.
Like I said to Skep earlier, little course corrections. That's all we need. Little course corrections.
Speaking of course corrections, you could call it a flip-flop if you want, but Hillary Clinton has actually flip-flopped on transgender issues. So back in 2014, she was saying that it was one of the most important issues for the Democrats, and now she's sort of warning, if this is what you lead with, you're not going to get elected. She is actually very much right about this. This is not the winning platform because it is about the economy, stupid. Even Hillary Clinton's telling you to behave. Sorry.
It's always about the economy, stupid.
It is.
It's always about the economy. That is a principle of living.
People almost always will vote their wallet. It is very rare for them to do anything else.
110%.
Time of war is the only thing that changes that, really.
So just, Hillary has flip-flopped on a lot of things over the years. Her position on things like same-sex marriage, abortion, gay rights. There's a lot of things over the years that she has changed her position on. But it's actually almost whiplash-inducing to see her change so quickly on a lot of the trans stuff. And it isn't that she's not saying that these rights aren't important. She's just saying, well, if you want to get elected, don't lead with this. Mm-hmm. And she's absolutely right. So this ruling body did something that wasn't ridiculous, and Hillary Clinton actually managed to be the broken clock that she is, and she was right a couple times a day.
Yeah, well, they see the writing on the wall, the Democrats, and they need to course correct because they're going to get crushed in the midterms, and they need to start reclaiming some of the moderates. Like, so many people from that cloud in the center have gone to the Republican side or up here the conservative side that the opposition is scared, and by good rights. They should be.
Well, San Francisco's Lowell High School to return to merit-based admissions. They're not going to do it this year because what does merit-based mean in the age of COVID?
Yeah, really.
Things are so screwed up they can't really tell who has merit and who doesn't because of the way the homeschooling went off. So they're not doing it this year, but starting next year. And a lot can change between now and then. But even super liberal San Francisco has realized that taking one of the gems of their educational system, a school where it is merit-based and you get an exceptional education at a public school, that they were not doing anybody any favor by just mainstreaming a bunch of people in there based on a lottery. And my question is, if you're part of the two classes that were three classes that will have been admitted based on criteria other than merit, and suddenly they start bringing in a bunch of students based on merit, how are you going to feel as a senior when the freshmen are kicking your ass academically?
Yeah,
because that's going to happen.
Going to cry in a locker. That's what you're going to do.
Sorry, Skep, go ahead.
When the math club goes from today, the math club is going to talk about issues of gender and identity. When that goes to exploring the fascinating world of differential equations, and all of a sudden, all of the officers of the math club who are seniors don't know what the hell. They don't even understand calculus, much less anything else. You know, that's an extreme example, but that's what's going to happen. And you're going to have you talk about cognitive dissonance. Oh my gosh, you will have students who really get hopeless. You know how students can, kids that age, they haven't learned, how to deal with adversity very well, particularly this generation. That the whines that you hear coming out of those places are going to be epic if and when this happens.
Yeah, somebody needs to come up with an introductory math class for like gender studies and postmodern studies. So you could have like math 5A, like math for gender studies majors.
Yes.
And exactly, it would be like some sort of broken statistics. And never mind. But to my mind, I was actually thinking about
you wouldn't
calculating
problem.
Calculating line integrals of oppression in the complex, little complex.
Don't we already have classes like that? I know up here we have remedial and
here you can see
classes.
the patriarchy acting on a particle. Never mind. All right, sorry. What were you going to say, Functional? I was busy amusing myself in my own mind.
I was amused too. I was playing off of it and saying, like, up here, I don't know about down there in San Francisco, but here in our schools, we have remedial programs and we have special ed classes. Like, I mean, isn't that kind of the same thing?
Yeah.
This is the formula for the probability density of prejudice.
Yeah. So we have one more article.
White people equal bad.
Unless we decide to loop back.
Unless you're Irish. I mean, Irish. I was reading chat. Unless you're orange, Skep, then you're doubly bad.
Yeah.
Yeah. Sex with monkeypox. Actually, I do. I'm going to go ahead and bring something back here because we have a little bit more time. This was an article. Hold on.
They usually are.
So this is actually looking at Australia, but the question sort of remains the same. And this, I mean, I'm sort of looking this at from a libertarian perspective. Rent crisis, 87,000 properties empty, water's on, no one's home. So what they did is they actually looked at houses with utility hookups in this area in Queensland, Australia, and tried to determine based on their utility use which houses just had nobody in them. Seems like a reasonable enough approach to try to figure out things, right? You know, it's not quite as interesting as taking the cell phone data of people on. Never mind.
No, we don't need to deploy any stingrays.
Yeah, rent crisis. So what they're doing is there are people that are saying we have this terrible problem with finding enough housing for these people in Australia. Here's a picture of people standing in line to look at a place that they want to rent. And at the same time, a lot of these properties have been purchased by investment companies because they think they're going to be worth more in the future than they are now. And they, rather than deal with all the horse shit that comes with having renters, they are just sitting on them.
Pure investment property.
It's pure investment properties. So the pure libertarian play for something like this is, okay, well, they use their money, they did whatever they want to do. On the other hand, it is causing a really bad short-term market distortion to have these investment properties be removed from the housing pool.
How is that a distortion? What is distorting about that?
Well, they're allowing something that it actually is needed by these people to lie fallow. And I think that they're doing it for reasons that aren't necessarily business reasons. Why wouldn't you want together?
I would call that a market failure.
Okay, that's fine. I think that is a
rather than
market
a
failure.
discretionary.
I do think that having it be fallow, the logic behind that is odd. You should be in a position where you can rent these things out, and you should be able to make money on them rather than make no money on them, while still keeping them as an investment.
Why?
And
There
almost
pressure
hold on. The only explanation I can come up with for why something like this is happening is that the government, through their well-meaning interference, has created a situation where the risk of renting these out is higher than any reward that they get from renting them. Sorry, go ahead, Skep. I just wanted to finish that point.
Well, and you hinted exactly the point I was going to make. Why isn't there pressure on the government to simplify the renting process, to have a regulation holiday, and that these people sign a release saying, I won't sue for the following things, blah, 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 blah. And then the investors don't have to incur the cost and headache that is keeping them from what would normally be a money-making opportunity. What has happened is the government has regulated Australia so heavily that it's no longer profitable. It's less profitable to rent your property and take the rental income than it is to incur the risk of something bad happening, because something bad happens too much of the time. And so, and the other thing that the government could do, and this, there are some things that governments do well, and they could do something like form an insurance combine of some sort that would underwrite the risk to the property owners and to the tenants, that for the situations that fall outside the releases that the tenants would sign and the regulatory relief that the owners of the property would get. That would actually solve this, but they can't work together too much because everybody's too proud of where they are politically to cooperate and make this happen. That's a real problem in Australia right now.
Yep.
I kind of wonder who are these some of these investment companies are too, because we have a similar situation here. But it's, long story short, Chinese business concerns, by default, they're part of the Chinese party, buying up property and letting them sit fallow for, again, unknown reasons. There's not really, we have insurance systems like that here in place, Skep. Owner's insurance gets tax breaks if you then, for private individuals, not the corporations, private individuals who have rental properties on the books, who can legally do that and have their renter's insurance or their owner's insurance, get tax breaks on the insurance if they rent it out. So it's an incentive without saying, well, you have to do this or we're going to fine you, go the other way with it. It kind of works, but there's just too much property that, like Harry said, it's one of those necessities in life that you're kind of like, yeah, but something kind of has to be done here. You can't just let them. Well,
I'm not saying don't do anything. I'm saying I just outlined.
No, I'm not trying to imply that. Sorry.
A potential solution. People.
No,
think
I agree
because
with you.
I have libertarian in my Twitter bio that I'm one of these large L, crazy people that, who wants private ownership of roads and armies. That's bullshit. What I want is for the individuals to have the freedom that our Constitution guarantees us, promises us, and supposedly guarantees, to the extent that we can still maintain the social contract that we sign, and all the implicit restrictions that come with that social contract that are required for people to live together.
No, I totally agree with you on that. Yeah. But I again, there's the China element, because there doesn't seem to be a reason other than they're buying up land in other countries across the world. Some places they're actually developing, like in certain countries in Africa, they're actually extracting minerals and doing that kind of stuff. But in places like Canada, the United States, Australia, parts of Europe, they're just buying up land, properties, and not really doing much with it. If they, again, I can speak specifically to here, about 20% of the property owned by concerns over it, and specifically that part of the world, only about 20% are rented out, and they're rented out to Chinese nationals who come here to study.
Well, let me address you to the elephant that's in the corner of the room that we're all pretending we don't see.
We need the food.
The problem is that COVID, one of the things they broke was renting. As soon as government started saying, if there's a pandemic, you can't kick people out.
Right.
That is, you've effectively decided that you don't own that piece of property anymore. The state now controls how that property is used. And now that
you just own the liability.
Yeah. You own all the liability. You might make some profit off it or not, depending on our mood. We might just decide that you just aren't entitled to that. That these poor people who are there, what are you going to do? Turn them out in the street during a pandemic?
Yes. I would, but I'm an asshole.
How about
well, I'm an asshole
create the
too.
problem of shutting it down so people can't pay their rent? How about
All right, so we have one more story.
Do it.
24-year-old mom with 22 children facing uncertain future after husband's arrest. Many people want big families, but one mom is taking it to a whole nother level. Millionaire Christina Ozturk says she wants 105 children. She didn't say anything about making a jacket out of them, just so you know. That's
Honey, at that point, there's an elephant that just walks out of your vagina. Like, that's just what happens.
No. Bear with me. She currently has 22 kids, but is now faced with an uncertain future as her husband has been arrested for money laundering. Ozturk shares 22 biological children with her husband, a Turkish businessman. With all the kids are biologically theirs, while all the kids are biologically theirs, they were conceived via surrogate. 20 of the children are all the same age. The Ozturks revealed that they spent £138,000 on surrogacy in 2021 to have all the babies in the same year. Since then, the couple has added 2 more children to the family in their quest to have 105 kids.
Psycho. You know, actually, no, wait. This is brilliant. She's doing what Genghis Khan did. So we should call her Genghis Cunt. She's trying to spread her seed and spread her genetic material throughout the human race, and for generations to come, her genetic material will be a part of the global populace. This is genius. Genghis Khan did it with a sword. She's doing it with her naughty bits.
The problem is that I would be kind of sort of, just from the sheer tactical standpoint, be proud to have Genghis Khan's genetics in my background somewhere. Hers I don't want.
It says here,
like,
no,
20
she's
to
saying
be
it's
all
not
the
a
same
problem.
age. That's a little
No, but
off,
she wants
isn't it?
105. It says, I'm with the kids all the time, doing all the things that mums normally do. The only difference is the amount of kids, the 24-year-old explained. Listen carefully. Listen carefully. Each day is different, from planning staff schedules to shopping for my family. I can tell you one thing, my days are never boring. Yeah, she's turning it into it's like a puppy mill, but for kids.
Yeah.
However, they're going to have to wait a little while longer before adding more babies to the family. Gallup, the husband, was recently arrested by Georgian authorities on charges related to money laundering and falsifying documents. You know, imagine my shock that these 2 crazy people would have gotten involved in something that got the Georgian authorities after them.
These guys are whack jobs. They scream whack jobs. They're selfish, egotistical people, you know, completely unlike President Trump, frankly.
Yeah.
They're sociopathically selfish.
No, they are absolutely, these are just broken, narcissistic whack jobs. It's like the fertility doctor. Well, can't get enough fresh sperm in today. Well, I'll just use mine, and then you find he's got like 1,000 kids.
It's like that episode of The Simpsons.
Yeah, and from the genetic perspective, you know, if you talk about like the selfish gene or any sort of genetic thing, you know, it's like, yeah, just give me a T-shirt that says winner. But these people are not winners; they're whack jobs.
Some people are winners, some people are chicken dinners.
Where's
Yeah.
Lee Marvin and Sam Peckinthorpe and John Cassavetes when you need them? Give them all 6
Peckinpah.
Yeah.
Peckinpah,
Let's see.
yeah.
Geode, she's an overachiever. Oh, Addie's
Oh,
here.
God.
Howdy, Addie.
Eddie!
Overachiever.
Nice. All right. She has a football team on one offense, the other on defense. Yeah. Yeah. That is absolutely true. Anyway,
said.
Seventh one
What
free.
Elwin said.
that is our show for this evening. Any final thoughts from the panel?
I'm ready for
Freedom.
the asteroid.
All right. Humanity was a mistake. Good night,
It
everybody.
certainly was. Good night, everybody.
The intro.